What if a single forgotten detail in your passport could end your American dream before you even step out of the airport? You're standing at JFK Airport, passport in hand, exhausted after a long 15-hour journey from Delhi. The immigration officer glances at your documents, types something into the computer, and suddenly his expression changes. "Sir, I'll need you to step aside." Those words hit harder than jet lag. What just happened? Which rule did you break without even realizing it? By the end of this video, you will know exactly how things can go wrong and what steps you must take to avoid being caught in the tightening net of America's immigration policies. The year 2025 has brought dramatic changes in the way the United States handles travelers from India. If you're planning to visit America, ignorance isn't just a small risk, it could turn into a life-altering mistake. We are not talking about outdated regulations. These are brand new, recently enforced policies that even regular visitors are struggling to keep up with. Some of these rules are so controversial, they have already caused tension between Washington and New Delhi. Yet the most alarming reality is this. Out of the 13 updated rules I'm about to explain, one in particular is so strict and unforgiving that thousands of Indian travelers have already been denied entry because of it. And here's the twist. It's probably not the rule you expect. The first shock comes with something called the Alien Registration Obligation. The name itself may sound like science fiction, but it is the official language of the US government. Beginning April 11, 2025, any Indian visitor planning to stay in the US longer than 30 days is now required to file Form G325R. This is not just another piece of paperwork. It is a powerful system designed to build a deep and detailed profile of every long-term visitor from India. Imagine what this means. Whether you are a student heading to Harvard, a software engineer joining a tech giant in Silicon Valley, or a son or daughter visiting family in New Jersey, the American government expects a complete file on you before you even step foot on US soil. They want to know your professional background, your relatives, your financial position, even your personal ties. Miss this requirement and your visa becomes useless paper. That's how serious it is. And this is only the beginning. The second change goes beyond visa paperwork and touches daily travel. Compliance with Real ID standards is now compulsory for domestic flights within the US. Here's the catch. If you are traveling from New York to Los Angeles, showing your Indian passport alone won't cut it anymore. For internal flights, your identification must meet federal Real ID protocols. Many Indian tourists who thought their home country driver's license or simple ID would work are suddenly discovering it does not. The American message is very clear. What is valid in your country has no weight here. Only their rules apply. Now picture this. Your family trip is planned across multiple states, but at your connecting flight in Chicago, you're stopped because your ID doesn't meet the Real ID requirement. Your trip ends there. That is the new reality Indian travelers are waking up to. The third rule has thrown Indian consulates into complete disorder. Starting May 1, 2025, every US visa application filed in India must now include the updated DS-164 form. At first glance, it may sound like just another form, but the DS-164 is a 20-page digital maze packed with extremely personal and intrusive questions. The form demands details of your online presence, your social media handles, your travel history going back 15 years, and even information about your entire family, including names, addresses, and jobs. Many applicants are left wondering if chasing the American dream is worth surrendering this level of privacy. The real danger is this: make a single mistake, give a detail that does not perfectly match another record, and your case could be flagged for deep review. That review can drag on for months, and there is no guarantee you will ever receive approval. The fourth update is aimed at a very specific group of travelers: dual nationals. If you are an Indian citizen who also holds another nationality, particularly from a country that has sensitive ties with the US, you are automatically treated with suspicion. Indian citizens who also have Canadian or EU passports are now finding themselves under close scrutiny. US immigration officials are treating these travelers with the kind of doubt and suspicion that was once reserved for high-risk cases. Some report being interrogated for hours, with officers demanding explanations about every stamp in both passports. Every foreign trip, every connection, every unexplained detail is questioned. The effect is clear. The life of dual nationals has just become far more complicated. The fifth rule may feel futuristic, yet it is already here. The United States is expanding pre-clearance facilities, and India is part of the trial stage. This means that in the near future, your immigration and customs checks for the US might happen before you even leave India. On the surface, this may sound convenient, but in reality, it gives American officers stationed at airports in Delhi or Mumbai the full authority to deny your entry to the US before you ever board the plane. The implications for sovereignty are serious, but the program is moving forward quickly whether travelers are ready for it or not. The sixth change hits where most people feel the most vulnerable: their personal devices. Enhanced electronic inspections are no longer rare, they are now standard. Your phone, laptop, tablet, even your smartwatch can be taken and searched on demand. And officers don't just look at the screen. They are allowed to ask for your passwords, browse through your applications, read your private texts, scan your photos, and even copy your entire data. Most travelers don't realize that once your device is accessed, everything on it is considered open for review. Your financial apps, your private chats, your business emails, even your family pictures are all scrutinized. Many Indian travelers have reported officers scrolling through old WhatsApp conversations and questioning them about casual comments or jokes made years ago, often twisting them into something far more serious. The seventh rule is one that confuses even Americans themselves. Cannabis may be legal in many US states, but under federal law it is still banned. And federal law rules over immigration. This is where Indian travelers are being caught. Picture visiting friends in Colorado, a state where marijuana is legal. You never use it yourself, but you are around people who do. Traces of cannabis somehow stick to your belongings. Then at a federal checkpoint, a small residue is detected and suddenly you are facing charges. You did nothing illegal in that state, but federal law doesn't care. For Indian visitors, this contradiction has turned into a serious trap. The eighth update is perhaps the harshest of all. Any past visa overstay or even a minor offense now triggers automatic secondary inspection, which often leads to denial of entry. And this policy is retroactive. That small unpaid traffic ticket from 2017, that short 3-day visa overstay caused by a medical emergency, both can now be used against you. Immigration databases are sharper than ever, pulling up old records instantly. Even if you once worked casually while on a tourist visa, it can resurface years later and cost you entry. The US system is no longer forgiving of small mistakes. The past is always waiting to be used as a reason to block you. The ninth change moves beyond the normal airport checks you are used to. The TSA has expanded behavioral detection methods. These are not just metal detectors and pat-downs. Special officers are now trained to closely watch travelers' behavior, facial expressions, and body language for any sign of nervousness or inconsistency. Even small gestures, like fidgeting or avoiding eye contact, can make you a target for extra questioning. For Indian travelers unfamiliar with these techniques, this has already caused unexpected trouble. The 10th rule introduces biometric re-verification for frequent Indian travelers. If you have visited the US multiple times in the past 5 years, your biometric data, fingerprints, facial scans, iris scans must now be revalidated before your next entry. This means old data stored in their systems is no longer enough. The authorities want fresh confirmation each time. Travelers who ignore this requirement find themselves delayed for hours or sent back. The 11th update adds a financial barrier. Proof of sufficient funds has always been part of visa applications, but now, even at the port of entry, officers are demanding real-time evidence of financial stability. Indian visitors have been asked to show live access to their online bank accounts or credit card statements. Carrying cash, or showing a bank certificate from India is no longer enough. If you cannot prove you have immediate access to funds in the US, you risk being denied. The 12th rule targets students and researchers. Those applying for study or research visas now face an additional security clearance process known as academic intent verification. Applicants must prove not only that their field of study is legitimate, but also that it cannot be misused for military or strategic purposes. Indian students in fields like computer science, engineering, and biotechnology are finding this process long and stressful, with interviews stretching into hours. The 13th and final change concerns health regulations. The US has introduced strict medical screening requirements for travelers from India, citing public health concerns. Even a history of certain treatable diseases can lead to denial. Vaccination records, prior medical reports, and sometimes even fresh tests are being demanded at airports. For travelers unaware of these rules, it feels both invasive and shocking. Taken together, these 13 new rules mark a turning point in how the US deals with Indian travelers. Each rule by itself may sound like a bureaucratic adjustment, but combined, they create a wall of scrutiny and suspicion. Many Indians who once saw America as an open door are now realizing that the door is guarded by more locks than ever before. The choice before every traveler is simple: either be prepared in advance for these new realities or risk being stopped, questioned, and possibly denied. The year 2025 has redefined the rules of the game, and if you want to play, you must know every rule by heart. Biometric scanners are now able to read heartbeats, and facial recognition tools observe tiny changes in your reactions. Many Indian travelers report being put through questioning that feels more like a police interrogation than standard airport checks. Officers slip in casual questions that are actually designed to test honesty. Even a basic query like why you are visiting becomes a kind of psychological examination where each blink, pause, and breath is carefully monitored. Rule 10 introduces a layer of surveillance most people never imagine: social media inspection. Immigration officers in the United States now frequently review applicants' social media accounts, not only to spot possible threats, but also to confirm or challenge the details in visa applications. That Instagram story about attending a job interview while on a tourist visa, that tweet criticizing US policies, or that meme joking about American politics, all can be looked at closely. Officials compare digital activity with documents submitted. If something doesn't match, even if it was out of context, it may be used as a reason for denial or extra questioning. There are cases where travelers didn't even know they were tagged in a sensitive post by a friend, yet still ended up in long interviews. These procedures are not just rumors, they are active and affecting Indian travelers in unexpected ways. Advanced AI programs are being used to check years of online behavior, comparing posts against visa details and past travel logs. Some travelers are refused entry over things they posted years back, things they can hardly remember. A casual post during college, a comment on global issues, or even a meme meant as a joke can be read as suspicious. It no longer matters whether it was harmless or misunderstood. If the system marks it, you face the consequences. Rule 11 brings new financial checks that go far beyond simple bank statements. Immigration departments now use advanced financial tracking tools that can analyze income sources, spending patterns, and financial links. They are alert to differences between what a visitor claims and what their money trail shows. If you say you are only a tourist, but your financial activity points to business dealings, you will be flagged. Large, unexplained transfers or deposits also raise alarms. America has in effect begun conducting financial background checks on nearly every foreign traveler. Indian visitors are realizing that the American definition of financial transparency and security is far stricter than what they are used to, and often feels like an invasion of privacy. If you are still following, it means you understand the depth of these changes. But what follows is even more surprising. Rule 12 requires detailed health records, something many never thought they would need to provide. Beyond COVID certificates, the US is now asking for medical history in much greater detail. This can include mental health records, medication details, and long-term health conditions. The focus is not just on contagious diseases, but on whether you might become a burden on the US health system or be unable to carry out the activities you claim you are coming for. Indian travelers with ongoing issues like diabetes, heart conditions, mental health treatments, or dependency on regular prescriptions are now facing more strict checks and sometimes even denial of entry. The 13th and final rule is the most hidden and also the most argued about. It is behind a large number of refusals. Automated risk assessment tools are now in play, running predictive calculations across hundreds of factors that travelers may never be aware of. Your past trips, your background, your digital habits, your financial records, even your online connections are all fed into a program that produces a risk score. If your score crosses a certain line, you are flagged for questioning or refusal, regardless of your actual record or intentions. The most disturbing part is that you will never know your score. You will never be told what factor caused it, and there is no real process to appeal or explain. It is a closed system, a kind of black box, deciding matters that can affect not only travel, but careers and family plans. People are being judged by an invisible program they cannot see or influence, and that is what makes it so worrying. Adding to this is the bigger picture. These rules are not just about airport safety. They show a shift in how America is now positioning itself globally. The message is clear. Entering the US is no longer a routine formality. It is considered a privilege that comes with layers of screening and serious checks. For Indians, this means the casual approach toward US trips that worked in earlier decades is no longer enough. Every single document has to be correct. Every statement has to match across all channels. Your online presence must be consistent and without contradictions. There is no tolerance for mistakes. What makes it more concerning is the speed of these changes. Many travelers are caught off guard because new rules are applied even to older cases. Immigration lawyers confirm that people who got visas approved a few months back are being refused at the border because new measures are being applied retroactively. This does not just impact tourists. Students, workers, and families are all facing difficulties. Indian firms are slowing down expansion. Students are delaying study plans. Families are postponing long-awaited reunions. The personal cost of these hidden regulations is rising quickly. Another challenge is that there is almost no clear guidance. These policies are not always part of official law or shown in travel advisories. Instead, they are carried out through internal notes and quiet instructions that never reach the public. Travelers usually discover a new rule only when they are in the middle of an interview or at the customs counter. That is why the only safe approach now is to assume you will be checked in every way possible at all stages of travel. Keep records for everything you say. Make sure your story is the same across documents, interviews, and online platforms. Be prepared that rules can shift even after your tickets are confirmed or your visa is stamped. The United States still offers major opportunities, but entering now requires strict precision and careful compliance. The path to entry has grown more complicated than ever. These 13 rules are not the end, but likely just the start of further tightening in the future. The real question for Indian travelers is not whether the US is worth visiting, but whether they are ready to face a system that is becoming more detailed, more invasive, and less forgiving with each passing month. The choice to travel remains yours, but it is now a choice that must be made with complete understanding of the difficulties ahead. In 2025, for Indian visitors, being aware is not just helpful. It has become the strongest form of protection in a system created to test your readiness at every single step.